get to Darren Dreger. Dregs on a Wednesday. We love to see it. How are you, sir?
Hold on. I just want to make sure I get a good picture of this. Send it to the Oilers. Hold on.
Okay. We'll get to the Oilers, Dregs. We'll get to the Oilers. We're going to start with some Flames news, if you don't mind.
No, I'm looking at the Los Angeles Kings sweaters, and
But you got another screen going on? We don't know what you're talking about here.
Yeah, okay,
that's a green screen, Dregs.
Okay. High budget. You've upped the budget, I see, this week. Okay, I get it.
Real quick, you broke some news this morning regarding the Calgary Flames, so it's a good place to lead. Ryan Huska is going to be part of Team Canada's coaching staff.
He will be, yeah. He'll be an assistant, associate, call him whatever you want. He'll be on the bench with Dean Evason of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And, Evason and Huska will round out the rest of their staff. But I like this. I think that, you guys would probably agree. Huska did a nice job with the Calgary Flames this year. And I'm always happy to see new faces on international benches, because historically, Team Canada, Team USA, they go with the history of, especially from a management perspective, the guys that, have the international experience, international success and all that. So when you see fresh faces get involved, like Ryan Huska from a coaching perspective and Dean Evason, I think it creates a wider umbrella for bigger opportunity down the road, right? Like now that Huska is involved at the coaching level, let's assume Canada's going to have some success in Sweden. They always seem to. And I think they're going to have a good team. I think we're going to see some interesting names pop up here in the near future. Why doesn't that open the door to opportunity down the path, right? You've got the World Cups, 2 of them. The Olympic bench is primarily picked already, but, hey, I think this is a good opportunity for Huska, for Evason, and for anyone who gets the invite. And it doesn't matter if you're a coach or a player here, guys. You get invited to join Team Canada, you just say yes, or Team USA. Just say yes, because there is influence on what, the Olympic larger group might look like, and likewise for the World Cups down the road. So, this is a shot in the arm for Ryan Huska. Deserved.
You don't go to Australia when Lanny calls you and asks you to go.
Austria or
Australia? with Max Finneganov.
Oh yeah, that's what you did instead of go to represent Canada, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Not to throw players under the bus, but Ryan Suzuki's had a wonderful, wonderful year with the Montreal Canadiens. Had a pretty good night the other night, game 1 against the Washington Capitals, right? Let's see how he does tonight. For whatever reason, his offseason schedule has never jived with the men's worlds. So he's been invited to play for Team Canada 2-3 times, maybe more than that. And look, sometimes it's valid. You have a family wedding, or there's something that you just can't miss.
Or you're the 18th choice.
For sure. But I think the messaging was...
On D or overall?
Yeah. Well, I think the messaging prior to the Four Nations face-off was, you know what? You've had a good year. Maybe you would have been in the mix, but this is why when you get that call from Canada, you answer that call and you go, yep, I'm in.
I don't disagree with you, and I wasn't going to be part of any Olympic team in my I did have a wild dream once. I thought I was going to go to Nagano.
Yeah.
But
if Rob Zamner can do it, you can too. Yeah,
sure.
Not all the GMs or teams are behind this. In all, right? I remember talking to Darcy McGeary. He's like, "Wow, you can go, but
don't get hurt.
Don't have to go. We'd be okay if you don't go, right? And it's fine. And I'm not here, they're there, but that is part of it. There would be players if you have bumps or concerns. I guess my point is the GMs probably don't care if you go or want you to go. Really,
I think it depends on where you're at in your career too.
Yeah.
If you're a young guy, and to your point, Rhett, you're healthy. You haven't had a disappointing year, but you're still climbing the ladder of progress and development here. Why wouldn't you go? And
Zayne Parekh, let's stay there.
Yeah,
it's going to be there. We captained them a few years ago, and that was a big part of a big year transition. Florida to Calgary, and then the Worlds. He finished off on a high note. Huska being there and Parekh being there, I think, is probably a really nice thing for Flames fans to think about.
Yeah, and look, I think that this is good work by management from Hockey Canada, and that's Scotty Salmon, and that's Kyle Dubas. I think they feel like there's a reason to repair the relationship between Zayne Parekh and Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that anyone expected, hold on. Maybe the Calgary Flames, just based on where they picked him, just believed that he was going to have a heck of a year, which he did. And then you fast forward to, him stepping into the National Hockey League. But let's see where he is next year. I mean, is he playing in Calgary? What does that look like? Is there an opportunity for him at, the World Junior Championship again to potentially be a real impact player and a leader for that team? Well, that's what Hockey Canada is hoping, best case scenario internationally. So why not start repairing, if necessary, that relationship now? You bring him into the men's worlds. Who's the other one? Martone is also going, right?
Martone,
yeah, like a young guy. Are they going to play meaningful games at the men's worlds? Don't know, probably not. But they're at least getting the invitation to come for the exhibition round. And then, like they did last year with a couple of young guys, it's up to you. There may not be another opportunity for you to play here because we are going to cherry pick the guys that want to come over when they're eliminated from the playoffs. However, we'll keep you. You can practice. You can be part of the group here. We'd love for you to stay. Maybe there is a chance for you to get into the mix. However, it's up to you. So I think it's a step in the right direction for Zayne Parekh.
We saw that actually with Johnny Gaudreau after making his debut in Game 82 with the Flames way back in, I want to say, 2014 spring. Then he went to the Worlds with the Americans and played phenomenally amongst men, and that he built to the excitement. I feel like the Americans have always been maybe a little more cutting edge or forward thinking with bringing some college guys over and guys that haven't played. Maybe they just get more no's from their NHL guys, but I like seeing Canada bring some young guys, even if they do have to take a back seat after round one when another wave of players can be invited.
Yeah, and I don't know, as Sidney Crosby officially said he's not going. Hockey Canada doesn't expect Crosby to go. And I think we saw some video earlier this week on the weekend, somewhere around there, of Sid skating with some of the younger guys in Pittsburgh. That's not unusual for him, right? He does that on an annual basis. That's just part of Crosby's character and DNA. But I think there is a glimmer of hope that he might go, yeah, you know what? I still got some game left here. I'm going to go over to the Worlds and have some fun and just continue on with a mentoring role. Imagine being one of those young guys, if that were to happen, and have that opportunity. It'd be terrific.
Let's turn our attention to round one of the playoffs. 5 Canadian teams in. That matches a record for most in any postseason. Maybe we go east to west with a little temperature check. Let's start with the Habs. They got a big one, obviously, tonight with a chance to even that series. What did you think of game one from the Habs?
Nervous. Like, they were nervous to start. That's not shocking at all. We saw the same thing from Ottawa. I actually saw it from some of the younger guys in Winnipeg. I was in Winnipeg for game one of the Blues and the Winnipeg Jets, but I thought the Canadiens played their way out of that. I did. There's some detail stuff that I'm sure Marty St. Louis has figured out and has delivered the message home. There's some individual stuff that can't happen defensively that has to get cleaned up, both on the defensive side. And we saw a couple of examples of Patrick Laine just checking out, which he can do from time to time. So they'll clean up some things, and I think that they'll be ready. I was impressed with Sam Montembeault. I don't know what you guys thought, but again, he's in that realm of inexperienced when you look at the roster. And he just talked about how he just considered it to be another game, went through his game day routine, and it looked like that based on the way that he played. But that the Capitals are going to be physical. Tom Wilson was hitting everything in sight in game one. Well, that's certainly not going to change. And there's some speculation Arbor Xhekaj may draw into the lineup for the Canadiens, which I guess I'm okay with, but I don't know how much he's going to help. It's not like he brings a wealth of experience. And the last thing you can have with twitchy officiating, which you always get in the first couple of games of every first round series, is a guy who's running around chasing hits. So I am interested in seeing what that lineup looks like in Montreal.
We were talking about Battle of Ontario. We'll go there next. We're surprised, maybe not the right word, but maybe impressed by how steely the Leafs have been, given how frenetic they've been in years past and in between their own ears. Thoughts on Ottawa and Toronto?
Well, I'm not surprised at what appears to be resolve for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm going to give credit to Craig Berube for that, right? And it's not like Sheldon Keefe was a bad coach. He wasn't. Maybe the group wasn't mature enough to get over the jinx, the hump, the inexperience, all of that. But the way the Maple Leafs are showing up in starting games is 100% by design by Craig Berube. You know, they're physical, they're drawing penalties, they're really, really aggressive, and that power play is just bonkers how quick they execute. I mean, predictably, that's not going to continue. That can't continue if you're the Ottawa Senators. And I thought Ottawa played pretty well last night. They took over in the second period. They just weren't rewarded for it. Yeah. So I don't know if they've got to do more work around the Toronto net. Obviously, Anthony Stolarz doesn't like having Ridley Gregg anywhere near the crease.
So before we got you
on. So is that going to be a storyline that drifts into Ottawa now that the series shifts? You know, there's no quit in that lineup. So I would expect that as good as Toronto has been, they know that they're going to have to be better. They're going to have to clean up those second periods. And I think that Toronto could be a lot more tenacious around Linus Ullmark, who also elevated his game in game 2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they went from, geez, that was a lopsided goalie matchup to like, okay, we're in overtime. Are we in the middle of is it a best of 5 with Ottawa having home ice or the Leafs up 2-0? It was that close. Let's keep moving. Winnipeg, you were there for game 1. There were some moments there where I worried, and then you start thinking about last year and Hellebuck's not great game 1, and we remember how it went with Colorado.
Yeah.
Walk us through your visit to the Manitoba Capital.
Well, man, you know, that whiteout, I mean, people think that it's overrated. It's not. Like, that building is a small venue, and it vibrates when they get going in there. When they announced the starting lineup and they announced Connor Hellebuyck, like, the MVP chant went on for a good solid 45 seconds, and it was literally vibrating in there. And even Hellebuyck postgame talked about how he's never going to forget that. It's just kind of one of those defining moments that you tattoo in your brain in terms of playoff experiences. But the Jets were nervous to start. They were. Braden Shen was a one-man wrecking crew in that first period. 7-8 hits. I mean, he almost killed Cole Perfetti in the corner. And Perfetti talked about the next day. He said he gave himself crap for putting himself in a bad situation. He was kind of pinned in there by Justin Falk. But, you know, the reality is, you can't sustain that type of play through 3 periods, or it's really hard unless everybody is doing it. And St. Louis seemed to taper off, certainly in the third. No different than any other of the top teams in the league. Winnipeg's big boys then took over in that third period. Mark Scheifele's having a great start to the postseason. Same for Kyle Connor. Iafallo is a nice compliment there. And Hellebuyck settled down. I mean, he wouldn't admit it, but I think he had some nervousness in his play in game 1. And, you know, he closed the door on the Blues in game 2. I thought game 2 was a tremendous hockey game.
Heavy. It
was heavy and defensively in tune. And there were just so many things to like about it. And then I mentioned Perfetti earlier. That poor kid didn't sleep. He didn't sleep after game 2. I mean, he missed a wide open net to make it 3-1 in the third period. And I mean, he's a skilled kid. So he's not out there to bang and crash. He's out there to generate offense.
Velarde and Ehlers still out. Do you have timelines with either?
I'd be surprised if Velarde wasn't an option for game 3. Now, because the Jets are up 2-0, maybe that buys them a little bit more time, right? Maybe they go, okay, we're not quite there with him yet, but he skated a few times, and you know, I watched him for 20 minutes. Now he's in a non-contact sweater, so how much do you learn there? And he stayed out longer, but the skating looks good to me. He looks like he's really, really close. So if they can throw him in, I mean, with all due respect to Nikolai Ehlers, he's in and out of the lineup all the time. And Nikolai Ehlers is a nice add because he just presents a different layer of speed, right? So when you get in trouble, he can skate the puck out of trouble. You know, your entries on the power play with Nick Ehlers are almost automatic. They're almost automatic because of how quick he is. But Velarde helps that power play as well. So it just gives them another boost. So if he doesn't play game 3, I think he'll be good to go for game 4.
Finally, the Oilers and Kings played an incredibly weird game 1 in the sense that
weird, man.
LA looked like they were utterly dominant. They missed 3 empty nets. They did not score on a full 2-minute 5-on-3 that would have put it well out of reach. And the Oilers, in just moments, showed that you still can never blink, not for a moment, when you've got Draisaitl and McDavid on the other side.
Just wild playoff hockey. How else do you explain it?
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I went to bed. It was 4-0. They were game, set, and match. Like, I mean, I didn't expect to wake up and it'd be 8-0. You know, I thought, all right, this is gonna be a 5-1, 5-2 hockey game. There we go. Like, you know, and that's not being disrespectful to McDavid or Draisaitl or any of the Oilers. It's just I just like the way the LA Kings play, and I think that they've had a really, really good year, and I didn't expect them to allow the greatness of the Oilers pair to get back into that game. But zero quit, right? Absolutely zero quit. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious the LA Kings are going to tighten up going into the next game.
Is it hard to take anything from that game just because of how
I think so.
it was? I mean, you can take those guys are amazing, and McDavid's McDavid, and you better plan for it. But I'm trying to think in my head, if I'm Doughty or if I'm the coach in LA, what's my message?
Right.
Is it almost, you won, but and it's playoffs, and we think about of course, the cliches.
Yeah.
You literally throw the tape away on that? Or do you show the first two periods, or do you try and learn from? Was there plays you can make on McDavid?
I mean, it's probably an answer that you should provide, but I think that maybe if there are glaring mistakes by some of your younger guys, like blown coverage, things like that, where Byfield should have been here and he wasn't there. But I mean, what kind of conversation are you having with Kopitar or Danault or Drew Doughty or any of their high experience guys? They know
made some good plays and reads.
Good plays.
Still.
Yeah. I know, man. I know. It's a fascinating series. You know, and obviously the start is imperative that the Oilers get going. I was surprised to see Trent Frederick in the lineup.
9 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't expected to play. He wasn't expected to be ready. And I mean, you know, a healthy Trent Frederick, is he a game changer? No, but he's a real nice complement player. And, you know, he can play in that heavy environment type of scenario. And now you think about Evander Kane. You know, they were targeting Evander Kane for game 3. I could see him play game 2. But again, I wonder, he hasn't played in a year, you know. Like,
that's tough.
He's either going to be really good and do something that is game-changing. Maybe it's a thunderous body check. Maybe it's a great back check. Maybe it's a goal. I don't know. Or he's not going to give you anything, and he's going to take away space from a player who is healthy, who should be in the lineup.
If he's going to give you anything, it's going to be for one game. You always see, you know what I mean? There's always that first game back where they're impactful, but I just don't think over the long run that it's a sustainable. When you haven't played for a year, my goodness.
Look, if you are in the business of making smart bets, betting on a mid-30s power forward after a year off is not
a tough bet.
No, it doesn't mean it can't work. No. But I just think, like, I'm hearing a lot of Oilers fans, I wait till Kane's back. I'm like, geez, like, the results haven't been good. Like, when he's on the ice, they get scored on more than they score. And yes, he can help you with some intimidation, but he's going to be able to keep up. This is one of the oldest and slowest teams in the league all of a sudden.
With intimidation, if the other team allows you to intimidate.
Right. Yeah, if you're intimidated. Sure.
I think that the heat is going to get turned up on some of their secondary guys, right? Yeah. Like, so when Draisaitl and McDavid were both out late in the regular season, it was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins who stepped up, at least that one game, right? He had the hat trick game. You know, he's got to find his way to be a difference maker in this series. You know, I know that sounds cliche, but it can't always be about the same three guys. You know, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Zach Hyman gives you everything he got, everything he has. I mean, shift in and shift out. Nuge is going to have to be impactful. Otherwise, I think eventually LA will run the Oilers out of gas, but it could be a fun series to watch and get to that point.
Has it become too convenient for the rest of that team? I've never played on a team with players like that. Our star was always our goaltender, right? Has it become too convenient for those players to be able to?
Leon or
come on,
Connor. We'll do it.
I don't know if I need to do. You guys are going to do it, right?
Yeah,
even if it's subconscious.
Yeah. Well, I think it does. And more often than not, if Knobloch has a choice, he'd rather not have those two guys play together.
Totally.
Right? I mean, obviously, you want to spread your weapons around a little bit. But one more time, I think we're seeing evidence of the players that they don't have in Edmonton that they miss. You know, they don't have the speed of Ryan McLeod. They don't have the speed of Dylan Holloway, even Broberg. You know,
top four guy.
He's a nice piece for the St. Louis Blues. He is. And with all due respect to the guys that they brought in and the money that they invested, they're not quick. They're not nimble or nifty or fast. They're not. Yeah. And when you're built around speed, especially with those two guys up front, man, you've got to have other areas to complement.
I took some. Sorry, Ryan. Can I just jump because he's talking about defense?
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay. I took some cheap shots, like because we're unbiased out here.
Sure.
On Bouchard the other day. I haven't liked his attitude or what appears to be an attitude of not caring. Ryan gets mad at me when I say that. Body language. Yeah. It looks like he's out of it. He's making plays. He's throwing pucks away, and he's playing 28 minutes. Yeah. What is he? Like in my heart of hearts, if I'm running that team, I don't need him.
Never mind the ARB case this summer.
I am not impressed with what he brings, and I don't want to be too harsh because again we're unbiased here. But what are your thoughts? I mean, the D-core isn't their strength.
No,
he's supposed to be. Last year talking about a $10-11 million defenseman.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and he obviously hasn't had a good year, and he hasn't had a good start to this playoff series. He hasn't. He wasn't good enough the other night. And you know the Oilers without Matthias Ekholm, you know, don't expect one guy to step in and fill the void. You know, Darnell Nurse gets in trouble when he tries to do too much. Right. So if it's Nurse and it's Wallman and it's Bouchard who split those minutes and just elevate their game a little bit, then I think you can live with it, right? You don't fill the hole of Matthias Ekholm because he's just a stabilizing presence throughout that lineup. But you can't have what you had the other night from Evan Bouchard. And I guess the only thing, it's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds, assuming that he doesn't have a real bounce back performance. And look, if the Oilers level the series, maybe take the lead, maybe win the series, we might have a different conversation going into round two. But I'm looking at the body of work of Evan Bouchard this year, and it hasn't been what it was. So maybe financially that helps the Oilers, assuming that they want to lock in on this guy longer term. But maybe they've also seen enough by the time you get to the end of the year where they look at their lineup, their roster, and they know that they've got big dough going to Connor McDavid right around the corner. But they're looking at all the holes that they have and all the holes that they have to try and fill. Maybe you have that conversation about Evan Bouchard and whether or not he's a piece that you have to invest in, or maybe you include to bring some pieces back the other way.
What is he around the league? I'm genuinely curious because he's a bit of an enigma. He's a power play guy, but you're a power play guy with the two best power play players. And if I played power play and Ryan played power play in Edmonton, we're getting 50, 60 points.
D-zone apples from me, Dregs. Just give it to McDavid.
Where do you want it, Connor? Okay, I'll put it there.
Yeah.
There's always a market for those guys, though, fellas. You know this. That big shot from the point. You know, the power play opportunity, like not every team, a lot of general managers look at players like that and go, all right, we got a bit of a reclamation project here, but he's young. He's got so many physical attributes that we can work with. We just need to pair him with the right guy and let him run and use him as a special teams sort of upgrade. So, and that might be the way Stan Bowman looks at him too. You know, maybe they just feel like, okay, if we get him at the right price point, then let's make sure that we flank him with the right guy. And is that Ekholm? Is that somebody else? I mean, we'll see, but he's got to be better. A lot of players have to be better there.
Any pressure in net yet, or where are we at? Like, I know there's a lot of picker down the stretch because Skinner was hurt.
Yeah.
Skinner didn't look good in game one. Not that many Oilers did. This is where you wanted that 1A guy that Jack Campbell is supposed to be, I'm guessing, but you're there. What do you see in net?
I mean, I don't get the sense that they're contemplating change yet, but it can't be too far down the road, can it? Yeah. Because you're right. You don't really, you don't really have a tandem. You've got a quality backup in Cal Pickard. That's really what you have. And, you know, I'm thinking of the Ottawa series now. Linus Ullmark took some heat along with a number of Ottawa Senators after game one. I mean, doesn't everybody have to elevate their game going into the playoffs? Isn't that just common sense? And that includes the goalie. So as long as Stu Skinner is better in game 2 than he was in game 1 and everybody else is better, then I think that he buys a little bit more time. But if he's not, or if the team is better and he lets in a soft one, maybe a couple of questionable ones, if not 2 soft ones, then you have to have that conversation, because goaltending cannot be the undoing of the Oilers in this series.
Final one for you from me.
Yeah.
Gabe Landeskog may return to the lineup tonight in Colorado at home against the Dallas Stars. Nearly 3 years from his last NHL hockey game. That was the game they lifted the cup in the Stanley Cup final, I believe against Tampa that year. Incredible stuff. Just give us more context, because Rhett, he said it first. I was like, okay, he's got some weird thing. I don't know anything about this procedure. He's like, that's almost impossible to recover from, to just walk normally, never mind be a pro athlete. It's been a long road.
I don't think it's ever happened, has it? I think guys,
it's never happened. It is so cutting edge that you basically can't move for months and months and months. You do not risk the cartilage moving. Like it's, we're not medical doctors, but it is a staggering surgery and an amazing thing. And I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
I mean, the only thing that you can take away from it is how mentally strong this man is. Like, can you imagine going through all of that and investing everything that he's invested to get to the point where he's literally returning to the National Hockey League at the fastest time of year? I mean, it's just bananas. And if it weren't for the character that he provides, we're not having this conversation. We're not. I mean, if he's not Gabe Landeskog or a decorated player or a leader highly valued by the Colorado Avalanche and Jared Bednar and his teammates, he's not getting in the lineup.
No.
It's just that, it's that simple. I'll tell you what, though, and it doesn't matter. I always say this. I don't cheer for teams, but I do cheer for individuals. He is one of my favorite guys. As a person, he's an unreal dude. He really is. He's a smart man, super caring, obviously a hard worker. You think back to his contribution when they won the Stanley Cup and the price that he paid there, all of that. So just based on the individual story, I'm happy for him. I'm cheering for him. I want him to do well, but I'm not expecting him to.
That's where my concern comes in. Sorry if I stepped on you there a little bit. That's where my concern comes in. I don't know, from a hole in the wall, I can't say he's a good person or not, but I'll go on your word that he is. I don't want him to go out there and get drilled and have something happen, because that type of surgery, give him credit for what he's gone through, and to get back and to try and do it. That surgery is not for that. That surgery is so you can live.
And that series,
so that you should go play again. This is a surgery. So you want to have a life? Okay, well, we're going to do this and set you up so that when it's healed up, you can kick a ball with your kids, or like, it's not meant for.
No.
So God bless him for what he's attempting, but I hope it works out well.
Yeah, knock on wood. As you're talking about that, you know who comes to mind is Max Pacioretty. And you remember he comes back from the Achilles, and like, how many games did he play in Washington? Did it again.
Yes.
You know, and again, knock on wood, he's back healthy and he's an option for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I just, with all the stops and starts and the edge work, and let alone the forecheck of the Dallas Stars, you know, and everything he's going to have to do. Oh boy. Anyway, we'll wish him well. It's a good story.
Yeah, and you know what? It's at home. That's going to be an emotional lift at the Ball Arena in Denver. So that's a fun one tonight. 3 good games tonight. I'm fascinated by all 3.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing some time with us, Dregs. We do appreciate it. And if you're going to get all the way to Winnipeg, I mean, next time just come a little further. We take you on tour to Calgary. Get out for Stampede, maybe. Red will show you
Alberta beef, Dregs.
Boys, I'll do my best to try and get there before the conference final next year. How's that?
That's a ways away.
That's a ways away.
A lot of work.
The big runway there. Don't let us down now. Thanks, Dregs.
Okay, guys, have a good one.
Hey, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And, of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.